everyone had told me, you're not going to be able to get your liquor license. So it was the first thing I did. We're just trying to preserve and maintain this bit of history for this very small town that if it didn't exist, the town would suffer. If you've ever wanted to feel like a celebrity, read to a bunch of kindergartners. You're having a bad day. Never. Like, it feels like I'm doing something that I give a shit about.
Yeah.
Which is really all we want is just to do something we give a shit about. Just do it. Just stop being scared. Stop, because it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be anything unless you do it.
You're listening to the NEI Pioneer Podcast, where we showcase and share the authentic stories of Northeast Indiana. Joining us today is Andi Sherman, the artist and entrepreneur behind the Kingsbury Arts and Event Center and her nonprofit, the Howe Historical Society. Andi got her start in the bridal beauty industry, founding Something Blue Stylist, but she has since added historical preservation to her resume, giving the Kingsbury a new life. The Kingsbury is home to the Little Shop, the place next door, the studio upstairs, the workshop, the tea room, and most recently, Ben's Pretzels. If after this conversation you would like to learn more about the Kingsbury and how to get involved, be sure to check the links down in the description. But for now, let's jump into the episode. I've always wanted to do this. Andi, we have so much to talk about.
I can't wait.
I'm so excited for this episode. I feel like when we had our introduction call to each other, we were just going on and really just going for it and talking about it. So we have a lot to cover today.
Yeah.
And kind of along those same lines, on that call, you had said, I feel like I've lived a lot of lives, is what you said. And I kind of feel like I can relate to that. So you've lived a lot of lives. You've got a lot going on. You're wearing a lot of hats. But if you could, for everybody watching, kind of take us back to the beginning. Where did this journey start for you? Have you always been very entrepreneurial? Have you always had a lot of hats?
I've always just been a lot.
Just always been a lot?
Yes. I have. I've always been a lot. I grew up in a small town that started out small. It's no longer small. I grew up in Zionsville, Indiana. I went to Union Elementary, where there was less than 100 kids.
Wow.
We had K through 5. We had an incredible teaching staff. I was so grateful that I had wonderful teachers growing up who kind of sparked my love for learning, my love for reading, my love for art. We had an incredible PTO at our school. Even though it was small, it was really awesome how that community of teachers and moms came together to really make that small school feel like a family, like a community. So shout out to all of my Union Elementary alumni. So I grew up in Zionsville, and while I was there, if you know anything about Zionsville now, I kind of grew up as Zionsville was really starting to pick up speed. So growing up, I watched this town kind of evolve and turn into what it is now, which is a town with so many amenities, a great school system, great park system, so many things that are going incredibly well. And it's been, even when I moved to Southern California and I would come back to visit, just seeing that growth and seeing, kind of what's possible in an area when you've got, the right people kind of bringing in the right things. It was very cool to see. So after I moved to Southern California in my 20s, and that's actually where I started my first company. So my first job, my career, I do hair and makeup for weddings. So I have been doing that for 23 years now.
Wow.
And when I started out there, I had a great mentor who I still work with today. Her name's Gina Ludwig. She taught me the ins and outs of the business. One of the things about being a hairstylist and a hairdresser, a makeup artist, we are artists at the core, and sometimes that comes with a a lot of ADD. It comes with, we notoriously, hair and makeup artists can be fickle. But when you work in weddings, you're kind of signing your name in blood, is what I tell my girls. So it requires a level of commitment. It requires a level of service. It's someone's like very special day.
Yeah.
So we take that very seriously. So when I started my company, it was all about kind of setting ourselves apart, where providing that luxury service to people on their wedding day, so that I always tell them, you don't have to worry, because I've already worried for you. I've already taken care of everything, so that on the day of, they just get to focus on the experience of the day, which should be wonderful. So I started in 2007 was when I started the company, and I very quickly started to attract some great talent. I work with Shayna Kohler Escobedo. She was an educator at Mac for a very long time.
Ooh.
So she became my California manager. And when I moved from Southern California back home to Indiana, she maintained my branch out there, which we have since closed since COVID. But I love my SoCal brides, and I'm still Facebook friends with a lot of them, which is really fun too, because I've being a part of someone's wedding day, on the vendor side, I'm like, it's such a cool day to be a part of, and it really I make some like amazing friends and some amazing connections just being part of that.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of cool, because then I get to watch them, I watch them have kids and all kinds of fun stuff. And then some of them, I get to see repeatedly, because they refer me to, their sisters and things like that. So it's a really fun job that I love being a part of people's big days, where I'm like, I know that I can help. I know that, my superpower, helping maintain that good energy during the morning. I'm able to do that. And so I do think that that's why, even having that, I bring in a lot of great talent who feel the same way about their job. It's not just about doing hair and makeup, because anyone can do hair and makeup. Anyone can. Really, it's a skill that can be mastered, and but it really is about kind of like the heart of it. And with my company, I told everyone, like, above and beyond is just the beginning. So so that has served me well. When I moved back to Indiana, I started a second branch in Indianapolis, and again, some of the most incredible, just thoughtful, wonderful stylists that I work with. And I have a third branch that is up in northern Indiana, which is actually kind of why we're here.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I've done like my degrees in film production, and so I've done some weddings on the side here and there for friends and stuff like that. And you have so much power as a wedding vendor on the day of to like make or break the day. Even if your portion, even if the makeup is flawless, even if the bride didn't have a good experience with you, like that could be the one thing that just like sets them off, and they're thinking about that the rest of the day. Like, I can't believe my stylist said that to me or something. So, and awesome that you can stay connected with them and watch them further on in their life, that's so cool. Something like being a wedding vendor or doing the styling, doing the makeup, the hair, stuff like that. How did you get into that? Was that something that you saw somebody else doing and you're like, that looks really fun? Or you just always really liked doing your makeup? Or how did that happen for you?
Oddly enough, I felt like I was kind of a tomboy in high school, and I kind of played around with it. I do remember being kind of a theater kid, and I remember doing makeup and watching kind of like the theatrical process of all of it, and that is at its core, like, theatrical makeup is just so much different than obviously wedding day hair and makeup. But I kind of just became fascinated with the fact that I was like, you can change people's faces. You can alter how they look, and that even just kind of with having like the artistic brain that I do. When I'm looking at people's faces, it's like it's its own work of art. And with with brides, I feel like part of why we resonate so much with people is like our style, our aesthetic is, I'm like, we want you to look like you, but like the best version.
Yeah.
So makeup can change people's faces. Makeup can do all of these different wonderful things, but at the core of it, we're like, you still want to be you. So I just really, I think makeup is fun because it kind of lets you play around with your own face. And I always think of it even when, I was nervous today, so I put on a pretty dress. So that always helps. And I put on like lipstick and whatever makes you feel better, whatever kind of like gets you going.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's not just about makeup, it's just kind of about how you feel. And so it's self-care. So even though it's kind of like silly, it's even when people ask what I do sometimes, and it's like, oh, I do hair and makeup, or like that doesn't, for some people, like that feels like, oh, like a hobby or something, something like that. But it's amazing to have like a career doing something. Like I have so much fun doing my job, and sometimes it doesn't even seem fair because I see people that are miserable in their jobs all the time, and I'm like, why are you doing?
Like, I'm having the time of my life.
Why are you you keep doing that? You should absolutely find something way more fun to do.
On our call, you had said something that I felt like really resonated with me. You said, basically, don't be scared if you're not amazing at the things that other people want you to be.
Yeah.
What did that look like for you, and like what made you say that thought?
I think that there's always kind of expectations. Everyone has different expectations put on them, and I encourage people to, again, really think about what they want, not worry about what everyone else thinks that they're supposed to be doing or where they're supposed to be or anything. It's absolutely everything is in your own timing. Everything is in your control, and stopping other people's kind of opinions of what you should be doing, when all that stuff, it gives you that freedom as soon as you kind of separate yourself from that and realize that it's like it's whatever like makes you happy at the end of the day, and like gives you that spark, so that again every day you're like waking up excited and like wanting to do what you're doing.
And obviously now that's the position you're in. You're doing what you love every day and you're having fun with it. But was that always the case? Did you feel growing up from maybe different people any pressure about what you should do, or you should go into something like this, even though you were like, I feel so creative, I feel so artistic, I want to do something fun?
When I had told my mom that I graduated high school early, and I told my mom I wanted to go to beauty school. I'd been very interested, again, very artsy, and I told my mom I want to go to beauty school, and she said that that's for pregnant high schoolers. That's not real. Like that's not a real thing. And I just kind of remember being like, okay, well, like, but it's what I want to do. So I did end up going to college for a year. And I'm very glad that I did. It gave me an experience, and I do think that was also part of what my mom wanted. My mom wanted, I graduated early. I kind of had time to see what I wanted to do. Going to college was great. Again, great experience. But I was doing people's hair and makeup out of my dorm room for like extra money.
That's so fun.
I was.
You're like, yeah, come over. I'll give you a new look.
But then I think back now about just sanitation and things like that, and I'm like, ugh, it's so gross. But it was fun because it was, again, it was something I wanted to do, and by I think it was obviously like second semester, I was like, okay, grades aren't great. I don't know what I want to do. I had a year to figure it out. And all I keep figuring is that I want to do what I said I wanted to do. But I mean, I graduated high school with a 1.8 GPA. Not that I wasn't smart. I'd lose my papers a lot. I couldn't remember to turn stuff in. That's also just figuring out how to work with like a brain that is wired completely different than than anybody else's, it felt like. So, and now I know that I'm not alone in that. But it was definitely a struggle growing up, because it wasn't like I wasn't smart. It wasn't like I couldn't do stuff, but it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot my backpack because, I was hungry that morning because I didn't set my alarm, or what, just like all these things that, again, when you're like learning to be a human being as a kid, like that kind of stuff, you don't realize it when you're a kid, that it's like, oh, this is the stuff that's important when you're an adult, is figuring out like, okay, how do I remember all my things? I felt like a bad kid because I didn't have great grades. And that obviously, being really kind of drawn to art and things like that is where a lot of that went. So when I went to beauty school, I was top of my class. Like it was my favorite thing, because I got to show that I'm like, when you give a shit about what you're doing, when like you care about it, like you'll pour yourself into it and you will succeed. And for some of us, like, that's not schoolwork. That's not our grades. That's not, but that has to be okay, because there's so many of us that are like that, that are kind of told that we're failing. Having grades is great, but I'm like, there's so much more to like your education during that time frame. So it was just something that resonated with me, where it was like saying something that, like, out loud, like manifesting it, being like, I want to go to beauty school, and like that immediate, no, you can't. You can't do that. And it's like, now I've kind of learned that I was like, well, nobody can tell me no. Like, the only one that can tell me no is me. Yeah. That's demonstrating to everybody, like, anything is possible. You kind of just have to stop listening to what other people say. So that's kind of, even when we talk about the Kingsbury Buildings becoming a creative community hub, a place where we want to be able to elevate, we want to be able to promote, we want to be able to encourage people to follow their dreams, and because the Kingsbury at its core is for dreamers, and doers is the biggest thing, because you have to get your dream, and you can't just leave it there. If it's a dream, like that,
you gotta do something.
That's nothing. Like, you got to do something about it. So the Kingsbury Arts and Event Center is for dreamers and doers.
Today, our studio is on the road because we are currently at our 2025 Pioneer Awards event. Each spring, we host an awards event to celebrate our region's pioneers. And just like our podcast, this event aims to showcase and share the authentic stories of the people in our region. This summer and fall, we're going to have open nominations for our Pioneer nominees. If you know someone who embodies the pioneer spirit and is creating positive change in the community, we would invite you to nominate them so that they can share their story. Then, just like this year, we're going to be celebrating all of the nominees at our Pioneer Awards event, which, speaking of, our 2025 Pioneer is about to be announced, so I have to go. But before I go, if you're in the Northeast Indiana region, we encourage you to check out our website at pioneerstartshere.com. That's pioneerstartshere.com. Now, let's get back to the podcast.
The Kingsbury Buildings. Can you, for anybody who's watching that hasn't heard of them before or anything, just talk about like how you found them, how you came to do all the things that you are doing with it now?
So when I first saw the Kingsbury Buildings, I was in the process of moving to northern Indiana, and we drove past them, and I remember being so excited the first time that I looked at them, because they're beautiful. They are in, the cornerstone of this darling postage stamp little town called Howe, Indiana. And driving past them, I was excited just because, seeing old historic buildings, I always think they're so cool. And these looked like, they had kind of just been refreshed. So, I wanted to explore them. And when I discovered that there wasn't really anything in them necessarily to explore, they were kind of sitting empty. There was someone that had, was doing, it was the owner of the buildings did their taxes and business in there, which I was kind of like, oh, that's definitely no fun.
Do you know what? That has been one of my biggest pet peeves around here. There's so many cute little buildings, And it's nothing I can go experience because it is like a lawyer's office or
Right?
something like that. But I'm like,
Okay,
it's
but I
so
do.
cute. I want to go in there
Lawyer's
so bad.
office is kind of a flex where I do appreciate them buying those buildings and then putting the money into restoring them.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot of people that want to like take that time to do that. You know, a lot of times people are buying buildings now and they're just tearing them down. That was 10 years ago when I first saw the buildings. Fast forward, you know, I'm living up in LaGrange County. I'm still doing hair and makeup for weddings. 2020 happens. You know, after we got our bearings, I kind of realized, you know, as my career's been progressing, I wanted to start looking into kind of shifting gears into more education, trying to just figure out what that looked like. And the biggest thing that I found was I needed the space to do it. So started looking into, you know, commercial real estate and those things, which again, I had zero experience with. The Kingsbury Buildings came up for sale. I remember sending a message and was like, holy cow, they're for sale. And it actually kind of started almost a little anxiety in me because I was like, okay, those are for sale. Who's going to buy them? Like who's going to buy them and what are they going to do with them? I hope they don't do something stupid.
This better be good.
This better, but you know, and that also kind of that sat with me too, where I was like, why am I always like, why does it have to be somebody else? Why does it have to be someone else that does it? Why can't you do it? And that kind of, you know, just I sat with it for a while and started Googling, you know, how to purchase commercial real estate, how to do all of these things. And I cannot say enough about, you know, the EDC in LaGrange County, in Northeast Indiana. I am a hairdresser. I don't know how to do all the things that I'm doing, but I know how to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
I'm a problem solver. So anytime it came to something that I didn't know about, it always just felt like, okay, let's find someone that knows what this is. What's step one? Tell me what step one is. I can do step one. And then I can keep going from there. So, you know, that even, you know, as we started preparing things for the bank and stuff like that, it really, I kind of felt like for the first time where I was like, oh, I'm an adult. I have 3 kids. And for the first time, I felt like an adult.
Like this is it.
Like this is, okay, this is business. This is stuff. And that it helped me grow a lot within, you know, just kind of figuring out processes and things like that so that my life can be streamlined so that I can kind of focus on this entire block of buildings. We purchased the buildings in January of 2024. And it was really funny because we had said, okay, we're not going to host an event for Valentine's Day because we weren't supposed to actually close on the buildings until February 1st. And then the bank called and goes, hey, we can actually close 2 days early. And I was like, great, then we can host an event on Valentine's
Good,
Day.
I've got a plan.
I know. And my team was like, I'm sorry, what? And I go, wait, no, we said, no, we have 2 extra days. We can do this. And we did. It was our first event that we held in the buildings was a Valentine's Day event. It was wild to see the amount of support. And we had nothing going on in the buildings. It was, you know, we had a little bit of retail, but the biggest thing was we wanted to open the doors to the buildings to kind of let people come in and just walk around and experience them.
Yeah.
One of our buildings, the little shop, has the original floors. So when you walk through there, you get that it's that creak. It's that people love walking through there just because it is such a beautiful historic building. And again, people now get to experience it. And then through that, they're telling us stories about, you know, things that they remember from their childhood in the buildings. And so we try to honor those memories. We host a storytellers club once a month, and we invite people that from the community, from LaGrange County, that have stories about the buildings, that have stories about, the town of Howe or LaGrange County just in general. We invite them to come and tell those stories because we want to hear them and we want to document them, and we want to kind of, for us, like, that's just kind of keeping the history alive in our town. We're just trying to preserve and maintain this bit of history for this very small town that if it didn't exist, the town would suffer. It would not have the same charm that it does. It feels kind of like a little Mayberry sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just it's the kind of stuff that when I grew up, I think about, again, where I grew up in Zionsville, I think about that small town feel and how much I loved that. So, when just moving up to LaGrange County and finding that, felt like, it finding treasure. It's finding this amazing little, like, diamond in the rough that is open for possibilities. So when I purchased the building, the biggest thing was I wanted to put my beauty studio in there. Being able to design a space that works really well for wedding mornings. Now, I use the space because I meet my clients there, but what's great is, I'm only meeting my clients typically on Mondays and Tuesdays. So now we have this beautiful space that's actually attached to our historic tea room that brides are now able to rent for their wedding mornings.
Oh, wow.
And for a very reasonable cost. And all the money from rentals, all the money that goes into these buildings, through our little shop, all of that, all the money goes right back into the buildings. We have a non-for-profit called the Howe Historical Society. So the biggest thing was, we want to make this its own self-sustaining model. Because these buildings don't belong to us. They belong to the town of Howe. So we consider ourselves stewards of the buildings. And, with that, we want to make sure that these buildings get the maintenance, that they need, the continued maintenance that they need, the structural integrity that needs to be done to ensure that, they were built in 1861. I want them to stand for at least another 160 years. So we use the money that we make from fundraising, from donors. We have preservation partners that partner with us to help us maintain these buildings. Again, slowly start to increase our capacity for how many guests can we hold upstairs. How many people could I fit on the rooftop? Like those kinds of fun things that require, structural engineers and things like that. And that is one of the things that I'm like, you got to call in professionals.
Yeah.
We call in professionals for structural things. So all of this has been a learning process. I've enjoyed most of it. But all I do is I see the vision in my head of what it can be and what it will become. That and that's what gets me going in the morning, is knowing it's like, okay, what's the next step to get us there? Half the time, I don't know exactly how I'm going to get to step 30. I'm like, that's so far ahead, but I can focus on like step 1 for the day.
Yeah.
So that really, and that helps just, again, keep me focused on like one day at a time and making sure that, we're doing this right. And we're keeping our focus on how are we making these buildings so that they are of use to everyone and they are a welcoming place for everyone to use within the creative community.
Yeah, I love this parallel that you're laying out here, that you think so fondly of your childhood town, the town that you grew up in, and how it really supported you and gave you like things to do, gave you safe spaces, things like that. And now you're able to kind of provide that space yourself now in your new town, and give people that space to be creative or just to seems like you would be fine with people even coming in and hanging out and having a good time. So
I actually encourage that, because when you don't come in and distract me, then I have to like work, and
and who wants that?
and I love connecting with people that have, creative vision within their own lives. When people come in that are creatives, we host an open mic night, which has been one of my favorite things. Just seeing the local talent around our area is wild. It's so cool. And being able to support that, being able to provide them a space. My daughter and I sing together quite a bit, but there's not really any place for us to like showcase that necessarily, besides like a karaoke bar.
Yeah.
And I cannot take my 13-year-old in there. So
Maybe not so
and
appropriate.
who doesn't love a good karaoke bar? But there's some wild talent that I'm like, if you want to play music, you want to do that, I'll make you a stage. I'll make you a stage. I'll get you a microphone. Let us know how we can support you, because again, like the Kingsbury is going to amplify people's like creative endeavors. We want to make sure, again, creating, even with our social media and that stuff, making sure that people know, when you support, the Kingsbury, when you come to our events, those kinds of things, it's like you're supporting an entire creative community that really didn't exist before.
Yeah.
So we're giving it a hub, we're giving it a place, and where we're located is so wonderful for people that want to come in from Chicago, people that want to come in from Detroit. We're just situated right there next to the toll road, and when we host these different things, especially as I think about, when we get into education with stylists and whatnot, there is a lot of times that those types of events are held in Chicago, those kinds of things. And there's just a lot of people that don't really want to go into Chicago and that is like, that's kind of a barrier. Again, when you come to this town, it's like a little breath of fresh air as we start kind of figuring out the things that we're doing. We host story time on Wednesdays. So if you've ever wanted to feel like a celebrity, read to a bunch of kindergartners. It is the best. Like, you're having a bad day. Never. Like, it is so, it's rewarding, just because like, that like you're making a difference, that they get excited. And then I do love being out in town, and I tell all the kids, I'm like, when you see me, make sure you say hi, make sure you come up to me, because and I'm like, and I will remember you, friend. and we want parents to feel, safe and encouraged to bring their kids to different types of events, so that they're getting that social interaction. They're kind of getting used to being around people. You've got these kids that are coming into kindergarten and things like that, and just, they're different. Their brains are different. Everything is different. So we, as like a creative community, where education's kind of doing its thing to help, this whole new generation of kids. And I want to make sure that we are supplementing that also, where I'm like, please don't forget about all the fun stuff.
As you're talking about different events and different spaces that you have, I would love to get a little bit into like, give me the list of what you've got in those buildings. And then I'm also just kind of curious too. We can start with that.
Yeah.
And then I'm also kind of curious too, like, kind of how the progression of it was. Like, did you have the first idea and you're like, okay, I'll have this shop right here, and then as time went on, you're like, oh, I kind of would like something like this, and add things on?
So when we first went to buy the buildings, one of the things that I really appreciated from the former owner was that he sat me down and wanted to make sure that I had a clear vision for what I wanted the buildings to be. What I've learned is that the vision that I had was crystal clear. What I wanted as far as the community hub, all of those things. I originally started, when we bought the buildings, I'd had the idea to put in like an actual hair salon. It felt like 5 seconds later, an incredible hairstylist named Suzanne opened up a shop right on the corner in a space that had actually been a former barber shop. And it kind of suddenly hit me when I saw it. I go, oh, there's already a hairdresser. There's already someone that's going to be doing what I was going to do. And I remember sitting with it for a while and kind of being like, okay, just do it, because it'll be different. It'll be whatever. But then it kind of just tugged at me. But I was like, but you don't need that. You don't need that anymore. That has been provided. Just seeing, okay, I'm not trying to create competition within our town. We're trying to give a full width of amenities and things, so that when people come to Howe, you've got every little thing that a little town could need. So the grand vision of it being something for the community, that does change. And what we've kind of noticed is having a little bit of wiggle room with our, what ideas work, like what things do people want. One thing we definitely know people want is pretzels.
Of course.
People want pretzels. We had not had any visions of food originally for quite a long time. But once we decided to kind of move into that direction, we felt like food would be such a good anchor. One of the first things that I did when we purchased the buildings, everyone had told me, oh, you're not going to be able to get your liquor license. So it was the first thing I did.
So that was item number one.
It was just kind of like, oh, that's going to be hard. That's going to be whatever. And I remember being like, well, everything's hard.
Come on, guys.
Everything is kind of hard. But I was like, at the end of the day, I knew having alcohol sales and things like that was going to be a great way for us to have revenue and things like that when we host fundraiser events. So with that, obviously, came figuring out food and whatnot, because you can't just have a liquor license. Also learned that. So figuring out food was a big thing just in general. So everything has kind of fallen together in such a great way that, we'll be able to like host events, our fundraiser things, use the money from those alcohol sales so that we can put that money right back into the structural work that needs to be done, and slowly, but surely build this back up so that it is a structurally sound building that will stand for many, many years to come and can house that creative community that we're also building at the same time.
Barrett McNagny is a neighbor to us as well as a sponsor of this podcast. Barrett McNagny is a law firm that's located in downtown Fort Wayne, and they were founded in 1876. Now, I'll do some quick math for you. That's almost 150 years of experience. That's 149 years longer than this podcast has been around. Along with their experience, they also have a wide range of practice areas. They are best known for their trusted legal counsel where and when you need it. If you're interested in their services or want to learn more, be sure to check out the link in the description below. Now back to the episode.
So everything that we have going on in the Kingsbury, we have tried to, again, make it so that it complements each other. So we do have a small retail space called The Little Shop. I'm a big Doctor Who fan. So there's a part in Doctor Who where he talks about everybody loves a little shop. And so when it came to figuring out what to name our retail space, I kind of was, again, who's going to stop me? I was like,
I'm in charge.
I'm in charge here. Wait, he's like, oh, I get to do this. And then it's even more fun because I love weird spellings of words. So like I even got to spell it weird. And so, but that is just even like when we talk about the Little Shop, it is a quirky little gift shop. All of our vendors are local. Any proceeds, any profits from the Little Shop, again, goes right back into those buildings. But it's so nice to be able to support other small local businesses. A lot of them are mothers. A lot of them bring their kids in when they're restocking. So that is very fun. So our little shop area is connected to our open mic stage. So we do open mic nights on the third Thursdays of every month. We're excited to we're going to try to do our open mic nights in our back area, which is the Kingsbury courtyard. Eventually, we plan on fully developing that back area, but we kind of just want to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
We're, hey, can we throw like a little concert back here? And we're very excited, again, just to kind of show people like, hey, this is what we're talking about. We want to be a space where, we're not trying to be a bar. We have an incredible local pub. It's the Howe Town Square Pub, and we're not trying to take away from that either. So one of the great things that we tell people is when we get into doing those events, Friday, Saturday things, hosting small things will be done by 9 p.m. Alcohol sales done by 9 p.m. If anyone wants a cool after party, everyone's going to go down to the town pub. That's where we go. So again, that helps us support the other businesses that are on the square, again, while still utilizing what we have at the buildings. In the back, we have our sunflower barn. And I'm so excited to get that up and developed. Right now, Howe has a farmer's market that happens every Saturday. So we're trying to kind of extend that over into our sunflower barn. My friend Easton, he is...
I was going to ask you about this because I saw the flyer on social media and I was like, this is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my whole life.
He's such a cool kid, and his mom and I are friends. For the last 2 years, he has had his own vegetable stand and has, been I'm just a little farmer. School is not the end all be all of any type of prediction of like what type of kid you're going to have, what type of success you're going to have. You give this kid, he rides dirt bikes and he's a farmer, like that kid's going to be fine. So it's fun for me to kind of give him the opportunity of, hey, instead of, restocking your farm stand at the end of the drive and everything, would you be interested in helping me, create a little farmer's market of our own, by our buildings? It's something that even them doing it as a family has been really cool just to watch. He's been selling out and taking orders, and just kind of watching him even learn how to talk to people about what it is that he's doing, and being able to articulate to people like, hi, I'm Easton, this is what I do. And so that's fun because again, we're supporting young entrepreneurs, really cool
Very
kids.
young, yeah.
Very young. But again, like it's something that's fun for him. Is it something that we'll always do? We don't know, but it's something fun in the meantime that I'm like, if you ever we're interested in like supporting like local entrepreneurs, small businesses, the opportunities are out there.
Yeah.
So moving back inside to the Kingsbury house, the former hotel is actually being rented out right now. We have renters in there. We have a congressman, and then there's a couple other businesses that are in the actual Kingsbury house, which is a former hotel. The top area of the Kingsbury Buildings is actually gutted, but she's sealed up tight, and she's ready for when we're ready to get to that. That's part of like the 10-year plan.
Yes, of course.
So in the buildings, we have the place next door. So we have plans for a coffee shop to go in the place next door. That is a place that we rent right now for local gatherings. We've had surprise birthday parties. We've had wedding receptions. We've had rehearsal dinners. We've had a kindergarten graduation, which was literally the cutest thing ever.
Aww.
It was darling. But again, these buildings and seeing people use them and having them be used and experienced is so rewarding because every time I have like a big group of people in the buildings, I like make sure that I take a second to be like, this is it. This is what you've been working for, is to kind of create this space that people are welcome in and that people want to be here. Upstairs, we have my beauty studio. And right behind that, we have our historic tea room. So we have a tea that's coming up this Sunday where, again, we encourage people like to make a memory of it. Get all dressed up, come out with your girls. We're doing a full tea service, and then afterwards, right next door to the beauty studio, we have our content studio. So our content studio is a photography studio. We have equipment, we have lighting, we have all kinds of incredible things for podcasting, for video, encouraging again local photographers and things like that that are in the area if they need a studio space, because like I didn't realize, of course, how expensive studio space and kinds of things are. We have these beautiful tall ceiling buildings that are phenomenal for a studio, and we rent that out to local photographers by the day so that they can host marathon events. They can host those family photos and kind of make the most use of it, because most of the times those are marathon shoots. So our content studio, we want to encourage people to use that, but it's nice because whenever we do have events and things around the buildings, we love being able to bring in local photographers to capture those events, capture those memories, and again, so that people can look back and see like, oh, I remember when we got all dressed up and we went and had tea at the Kingsbury house. So creating those new memories within these buildings. Everyone remembers the hardware store. Everyone remembers, there used to be peanuts and shells on the ground and those kinds of things. So we're creating those new memories within these buildings.
That's amazing. And you talk about where you are now, but you're also kind of hinting at that you're continuing to grow, and more things can happen. You've still got the 10-year plan, so we've got more things coming down the pipeline.
Yes.
But when you think about when you were first starting out, when you first bought the buildings, maybe, thinking about what you kind of thought success might look like for the Kingsbury, and do you think it's changed now that you're really in the thick of it and you're really getting things moving?
I don't worry so much about like the idea of success with what I'm creating, with what I'm doing, with how I'm living my life. Like success for me is like, do I like it you sit with yourself and you sit, and I actually, whenever I need to get away, there is access to the roof, and I go to the roof of the Kingsbury a lot, and it's an incredible view, and it really when I sit up there and I kind of see everything that we've already done with what we've had, which isn't a lot, and kind of again how much more we have to do, sitting in it and knowing, when I look around and I feel I'm doing good work. This makes me feel good. And you can see kind of that energy, in other people around you as you're starting to create, something that didn't exist before. Yeah. So for me, if I every day that I get up and I feel that passion, I'm like, that feels successful to me. Like it feels like I'm doing something that I give a shit about. Yeah. Which is really all we want is just to do something we give a shit about. So yeah, success is different for everyone. And I'm like, if I had to say if I was successful or not, I would say yes. Like, yes, I'm successful because of what I'm creating is, it isn't for me. Yeah. It's for everyone. And that's also just hard in itself because you're not going to please everybody. So like some people could also be like, well, she hasn't done that much, like there's always people that could say whatever. And like when you can sit within yourself and feel good, like I've done the good work, that's success for me.
Do you have any advice for somebody who maybe is feeling a lot like you were, back in the beginnings where you're like, I know that there's something that I'm really interested in. I know I'm really creative. I don't know how to start. Maybe somebody who's feeling entrepreneurial, but again, doesn't know where to start.
Yeah.
Is there any advice that you would give them as somebody who is feeling successful every day?
Just do it. Just stop being scared. Stop, because like it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be anything unless you do it, unless you figure out like, okay. And the biggest thing for me is creating like, okay, what's that next step? Like figuring out the next step for yourself is that's how you don't get stuck in that loop of, overthinking and all that stuff. I'm like, give yourself a plan, give yourself grace when you don't quite hit those marks every day. But do it. Like, just start, even if it's messy and even if it's not what you thought. Like, just getting it out of you and onto like paper. That is the biggest thing. Talking to your friends about it, talking to other people that inspire you, talking to people that are in the field of maybe which you are interested in. There's no limit to like what you can do if you just start.
I think that's really, really good advice. Probably something I needed to hear too. I feel like I'm really good at like, I don't know, psyching myself out. I will see like, oh, here's where I want to be in however many years. Like, here's the big picture, but I'm really bad at like, okay, what is step one? That's all you have. You just have to start with step one. I think you, throughout our whole conversation, have really exemplified that and showed that. You're like, all these things I don't quite know how to do, but I asked somebody, they told me what step one was, and I started from there, and here we are now. So,
and having that mentality of nothing's that hard. I can figure things out. Like, there's the wealth of knowledge available like at our fingertips is vast. So you use it. Stop scrolling on all of these things that make us feel horrible and actually start, investing in yourself and using this wild amount of knowledge that's available to us to do something,
Yeah. Okay, I think we're going to get into our rapid wrap-up questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
And I literally, you said that, and I was like, I'm not even going to look at what they are. I saw it, and I go, no, these need to be real. Yeah, I'm ready.
I'm so serious. I sent that to you, and I almost knew that you were going to do that. I was like, she's going to have fun with the game.
I'm so excited.
That's going to be her thing. Okay. First one might be really hard. Do you have a favorite Taylor Swift era?
Reputation.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I love that for you. This is kind of like a sweet or salty question.
Ooh.
But I don't know if you've experienced either of these. But DeBrand fine chocolates or Coney Island hot dogs? Or just like chocolate versus like hot dog person?
Okay, wait, why can't I have both?
Okay.
Can I go and eat Coney dogs, and then can we go to
and then chocolate for dessert
afterwards? Okay, but legit, my favorite thing from DeBrand's is they have like a spicy hot chocolate.
Ooh,
it's so good. It just reminds me of Johnny Depp from the movie Chocolat. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. Highly recommend. But it is so good. But no, I want both.
Yeah.
And everyone should have both. Like,
you deserve both.
Literally, you deserve both.
That's the message of this podcast. You deserve both a hot
dog
and chocolate.
Who told you only get to have one or the other? Like,
you are the boss.
I would like to rephrase the question.
Okay. What is your favorite aspect of your job? We talked about how you wear a lot of hats. There's a lot of things going on. Is there one part in particular that really, really fills your cup at the end of the day?
Oh, especially with brides and everything like that, at the end when like they put their dress on and everything, and you kind of like see them take that like that breath where it's like, it's today, it's everything, and you kind of just see like they're ready, and like you got to be a part of that. You got to ensure that like you got them ready. They're ready to go. And I, working with people and giving them that confidence where I'm like, you are fire. You you look amazing. You are incredible. Like, it just being able to like pour into other people and just kind of see that confidence within them like is very rewarding to me.
Yeah. And I bet you get to feel that even a little bit too with something like the little shop where you're featuring local entrepreneurs and business women, or even like open mic night where they're like, this is something I feel excited about, but I've never had a place to show it before. Like, it's kind of the same idea where you're providing that for them and helping them gain confidence in it too. So I love that. And then last one, would you rather freestyle a DIY project or follow the instructions?
Oh, freestyle all the time. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to throw out the instructions. Make sure you put them in a drawer somewhere
Yes, of
where all the
course.
instructions are. And then if you need them, you can go get them. But no, freestyle for sure. Like, and especially within a historic building, you kind of have to always be prepared. You just know, you don't know what you're opening up. You don't, like, you open up walls and it's like, oh, well, that's interesting. So yeah, you have to freestyle at pretty much all times. Like, plans are great, but like the ability to freestyle is way better.
You gotta go with the flow.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, Andi, thank you for being on the show. This was so fun. If people want to get in touch with you and keep up with you, where can they find you?
The best way to keep up to date on everything going on at the Kingsbury is through either our Facebook page or Instagram. It's the Kingsbury in Howe. .com, and you'll be able to see through there everything that's coming up, all of our events that happen, monthly. One of our big events that I'm very excited about coming up is going to be, we have Indian Summer Days in Howe, and it's a very big event, and the town does such a great job of putting it on. It's September 19th and 20th. And we are going to be hosting our very first Kingsbury 5K.
Fun.
And that will be honoring a local community member as well. And we're very excited to kind of announce all of that and roll all of that out, because we want the Kingsbury 5K, again, to promote and be a memorial run for, again, incredible community members that are no longer with us. So we're very excited. My son is a runner, so it's also just very fun, because like I know that it's something that he'll kind of keep going because he loves running. Just like an event that he can always count on, running in.
Amazing. Well, thank you again, and thank you for watching. Anything we mentioned in today's episode, you can probably find in the description below. And yeah, we'll see you next time.